The folklore surrounding how the Wampus cat was created is steeped deep in Native American lore. There was once a beautiful and curious Cherokee woman. Her husband would often leave the village with the other men to go out hunting and bring back food. Before each trip, the men would gather in the woods to ask forgiveness for the lives of the animals they were about to take and ask the gods to help in their hunt. The men of the tribe performed sacred rites that were forbidden for women to witness. The woman's curiosity consumed her. She wanted to know this secret magic. She begged her husband to reveal the rites to her, but he always refused. So one night, as the men set out into the forest, she followed behind. The woman wrapped herself in a cougar skin and quietly crept through the woods. She came upon the clearing in the forest where the men had gathered. She hid behind a rock and watched, enthralled, finally seeing the secrets she had so long desired to see. She crept closer and closer to the men in the circle, wanting to take in every detail, but then, she got too close. The shaman leading the rituals spotted her, and immediately saw through her disguise. The men of the tribe grabbed her and dragged her into the circle. As punishment for breaking the taboo, the shaman cast a spell on the woman. The cougar skin she had wrapped herself in became her own skin. She became a strange mix of cougar and human, and was cursed to live forever alone in the woods, never again enjoying human company. The Wampus cat is said to roam the Appalachian mountains at night, traveling up and down the hills, in and out of the valleys, forever wandering, ever alone in the mountains. There are some who say that when she kills animals or destroys items, she's acting out of anger and resentment from being cut off from the rest of civilization. There are some who say that she will roam the mountains forever, lurking around the places where men live but never able to rejoin them. Whenever strange cries are heard at night, whenever something gets destroyed in those farms in the hills, or whenever an animal goes missing, the mountain people blame the Wampus cat. The Wampus cat has been associated in several southeastern tribal beliefs as a shapeshifter. Later, various towns in the United States reported sightings as early as the 1920s of the Wampus cat, which would kill livestock. During the 1920s and 30s, newspapers reported of a Wampus cat killing livestock in North Carolina to Georgia, and such sightings continued even into the 60s. When one was sighted, the townspeople would institute curfews and arm themselves against the creature. Though the dead livestock in sightings may be attributed to early intrusions of coyotes or jaguarundi, the livestock deaths were attributed to the Wampus cat. While the central figure in the story of the Wampus cat is said to be a Cherokee woman, the Wampus cat itself seems to go back further than the story as it's told today. The Wampus cat first came to the attention of the world outside the mountains in the first half of the 19th century. Although at that time, it wasn't the Wampus cat that people were talking about, but the catawampus, which was a word used to describe the idea of an unknown animal lurking in the woods and something to blame unusual events, such as livestock killings on. The word catawampus is a complicated one. It has multiple meanings in several American dialects, including identifying a mysterious animal, describing something that's backed into a corner, and as a term to describe something that's gone awry. This last usage was noted by folklorists in the late 19th century, and was more prominent in North Carolina, although it has since spread more widely across the southeastern U.S. In its sense as a mysterious animal, catawampus may be related to the word catamount, which was the regional name for the eastern cougar. As the cougars became endangered and disappeared from the woods, so did the use of the word. Sometime in the early 20th century the syllables were transposed and the catawampus became the Wampus cat. Wampus alone is still used throughout North Carolina to describe an unknown or mysterious animal. The story of the animal and its origins as a Cherokee woman first started appearing in the 20th century, long after the Wampus began roaming the woods. The Wampus cat varies widely in appearance, but is always feline in nature. It's usually depicted similarly to a cougar or mountain lion with light tan or yellow fur, has yellow eyes, and often has 6 legs as opposed to 4. The Wampus cat is also said to be able to walk upright on 2 legs. Several stories claim to reveal the origin of the Wampus cat, but they all share one aspect: the Wampus cat was created by the supernatural. This tale's most widely known origin story is a Cherokee legend. Iwa, an evil demon known as the Spirit of Madness, was terrorizing the Chota tribe. Shamans and war chiefs from the village were called together to devise a way to combat her. The wise shamans explained to the war chiefs that sending braves to fight Iwo would not work, as she could drive men to insanity with a glance. Angered, the war chiefs insisted that something had to be done, as their children were being fed upon. After much deliberation, both parties agreed to send only their strongest, bravest warriors to kill the evil being. Standing Bear was the cleverest, quickest, stealthiest, strongest, and most respected brave in all the Cherokee nation, so he was specifically chosen to battle Iwa. The shamans bid him well and the war chiefs gave him their best weapons. On the outskirts of town, his wife, Running Deer, gave him one last goodbye. After weeks had passed, there was still no news of Standing Bear's plight. Then, late one night, he came running into camp, screaming and clawing his eyes out with bloodied fingers. With one look, Running Deer knew it was no longer her husband, the man she knew was no more. With time, she hoped, he would be able to pick berries or work in the fields, but according to Cherokee law, he would never be considered a good husband again and was treated as if he were dead. Standing Bear's name was never uttered again. Running Deer, however, did not forget him. She grieved deeply for him, as she had only ever had a great love for him. Vengeance on her mind, she planned the demon's death. Running Deer consulted the shamans, who gave her a mask of a bobcat's face. They told her that the spirit of the mountain cat would stand against Iwa, but only if she surprised the demon. The war chiefs gave her a black paste, which would conceal her scent from the monster, as well as her form. Courage welling inside her, Running Deer kissed her husband once more on his forehead, his eyes showing no recognition. She set out into the forest, which she knew just as well as her village. Along the way, she ate berries and wild herbs to maintain her strength, but after several days, she still found no sign of Iwa. Then, late one night she heard a creature slinking down by the river. She crept slowly towards the water, hearing a twig snap behind her. She spun around, fearful that the end was near. When she turned around, she only saw a fox. At the edge of the creek, she saw fresh footprints that belonged to no ordinary animal. Following them, she spotted the demon upstream, lurching hideously above the water. It drank from the clear mountain spring vulgarly. She smiled. Iwa had not seen or heard her. Running Deer crept closer and closer, until she was within reach of the creature. Her body trembling, she sprang on the creature. Iwa spun around, seeing the magical cat spirit mask. The demon began to tear at itself as the spirit of the mountain cat reflected the creature's evil bewitchments upon it. The monster fell backward into the water, thrashing around. Running Deer fled back to the village as fast as she could, never looking back. Unbeknown to her, part of the demon latched onto her soul, determined to return upon her passing. When she arrived home, she sang a quiet grief-stricken song for her husband, but also one of joy over the death of the demon's banishment. Running Deer was given 2 new names, Spirit Talker and Home Protector. Some say that with her death, the Wampus cats were made, the evil she banished broken and divided, as well as her benevolence, courage, and strength. Her essence was fragmented, forcefully entering and changing women across the region into monsters, and sometimes heroes. According to legend, these bobcat women fight demons, eternally protecting Cherokee lands from the evil that hides in the dark, yet, they are also capable of great wickedness and harm. These first Wampas were hexed by Iwa, cursed to live as a vehement cougar most of their days, bonded to their souls. The demon's curse follows all females born to Wampus cats, allowing both the evil entity and her human rival to live on in an eternal struggle. Part cougar, part human, Wampus cats are sinister, intelligent creatures seen throughout the Appalachian region just after dark or before the sunrise. Covered in black fur, its humanoid form can be seen running incredibly fast through the woods and fields on 2 legs, or sometimes on all 4. The halflings have slender bodies, usually 5 to 8 feet long from head to tail, and weigh between 100 to 150 pounds. Their glowing yellow eyes strike fear into those that see them, and its ghostly, shrill voice turns blood cold. Looking similar to a black cougar, Wampus cats have long, black manes that resemble a male lion's mane. Their eyebrows, whiskers, and claws are white, some also having white bellies and/or a white-tipped tail. Most often, they are seen in Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, and Virginia. The beasts are feared in the regions they inhabit, once inspiring witch hunts and homemade wards. In cities, the Wampus cat lives in sewers, drainage systems, or old abandoned shacks and buildings that lay on the fringes of development. Outside of towns, Wampus cats live where other large cats can be found. While their violent and hostile tendencies are due to their cursed natures, when in human form, their personalities and moral decisions are their own to make. Age, however, seems to embitter the halflings, leading them to a similar attitude when confined to human flesh. One local legend in a West Virginian town is about the Wampus cat woman. Deep in the hills of West Virginia, an old woman lived alone in a small cabin. People in the valley rarely saw her, but often heard her talking to herself or working late at night. Those that had never seen her thought she was a monster, a humanoid beast that stole their goods and killed their livestock. Yet, those that had seen her knew she didn't look like a monster but felt there was still something sinister about her, something beyond what they could see. They all whispered her new name, the Black-Eyed Witch. After speaking of her, the townsfolk performed one of many cleansing rituals, superstitions meant to protect them from curses. One night, several villagers' chickens and cows were killed and partially eaten. The next night, neighboring fences were destroyed, swaths of crops were trampled, and a little boy went missing. It was the last straw. Forming a mob in the morning, the villagers stormed the cabin in the mountains just after dawn. Bursting through the door, they discovered the old woman transforming into a mountain lion. With a vicious snarl, the beast leapt at the villagers, grabbing one around the throat with a fang-filled mouth. In a panic, the others fled back to their homes and gathered their things, leaving without another word. Whether you believe that the Wampus cat is a demon, a shapeshifter, a human hybrid, or just an unknown animal that resembles a cougar, it is obvious that something is out there, creeping along in the mountains and dark places, waiting to strike their next victim.